All right, and welcome back to another episode of the Unalienable Right. We got travel coming up. I will be traveling out of town over the course of the next day or so for a few days, so we're doing it a day early. Also, the Georgia Senate runoff is tonight. We're tracking that very closely. Shawn Farash and Cordie Williams with you. Dr. Cordie Williams, how you doing today, pal?
Living the dream, buddy. Living the dream. Just blown away by what is happening in the world, man. There's so much to talk about tonight.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's the Georgia Senate runoff, which we have right here. Oops, that's not the Georgia Senate runoff. That's the live stream, the live feed from Getter. Let me get this up for you real quick as I can pull up the Georgia Senate runoff. It is razor thin. I mean, as razor thin as it gets as of right now. If I can get this to work, as of right now. Give me a second, folks. I'm sorry. This is not cooperating with me. As of right this second, the Georgia runoff is razor thin. There you see it on your screen. Raphael Warnock up by 0.02 of a percentage point, a 200th of a percentage point, 400 or so, less than 400 votes. Now it is Herschel Walker who is in the lead by less than 400 votes. So this thing is going back and forth. It appears to be anybody's game with approximately 70% of the vote reporting. Obviously, you know what happens when it's close and they're not done counting. So we will hope for the best.
Shawn, so do we know? I don't think we know if it's rigged or not. I really don't. And you know, like you and I were discussing off air, it's kind of like as it gets closer in the night, I think people start wanting to pour a nice glass of Four Roses with a big rock and maybe a stogie if they're a stogie person. They get really concerned or they watch reruns of Yellowstone because we've heard this song and dance before, haven't we?
Yeah, we have. I mean, I said this on Twitter, and I don't like to overly poke at the integrity of the system, even though it needs to be poked at, it needs to be looked at. I just don't want to risk discouraging people from voting. So whenever I do mention that there are irregularities in an election, I don't want that to anyone to be confused with that with me saying, essentially, don't vote because it's rigged. There's no reason to, right? I may think that the field is tilted against us. However, that we can overcome it if we go out and vote in numbers and take the system and turn it on its head. So essentially, I put this on Twitter and I said, it's weird. If Herschel Walker is up at the end of the night and this thing takes weeks to count, he doesn't, Warnock still has a chance to win. However, if the shoe is on the other foot and Warnock is up at the end of the night and this thing takes weeks to count, it's incredible. You never see a Republican really come back from the depths of hell when they're down in elections at the end of the night. So the only time I think we saw that happen was with Lauren Boebert, and even that race is headed to a recount, but her opponent conceded. She won that by a razor-thin margin. So for anybody who thinks their vote doesn't count, they tried to rig it against Lauren Boebert in Colorado, and she wound up winning by a few hundred votes. So your vote counts no matter how rigged it is, and we know that there's a lot of unfairness and games and manipulation that goes on in our elections, but we can beat it. Lauren Boebert beat it, so we can beat it. Your vote counts, but if this thing is close and they say there's still 80,000 votes missing and Herschel Walker's only up 10, well, I think you can kind of kiss it goodbye.
Yeah, I mean, I think the only chance we have is for him, when everybody goes to bed, for him to be up.
Yeah.
And just what we've seen. I mean, in 2020, I'm sitting there in Mar-a-Lago, sitting right next to Jack Brewer, and everybody goes home to eat cold chili and watch reruns of Yellowstone in their underwear at 2 a.m. And then all of a sudden, a 200, 300,000 vote margin closes to every battleground state. Trump loses by 10,000 votes, exactly right around 10,000 votes.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. It's been disheartening, and we certainly see that in Arizona. But to your point, I mean, it doesn't mean, hey, guys, don't vote. It means, hey, guys, vote in numbers. Get your friends, family, and everybody to vote. And then even more than that, look for solutions on how to change the system. Time, hands, and money.
Correct.
I mean, that's honestly what it comes down to. And pressing in and not giving up, because that's all we have to save our kids.
That's it. That's all you got. And, that's the attitude I like to take. And while, like you said, it's very disheartening. And it's hard to kind of, put your hands around, well, it sucks that they've done this and they've muddied the water with our election system. It really does, and it pains me to say I hate knowing that this is the way it is. But we've spoken about it on this show on about ways to kind of change that, and I think by getting into, as Lee Zeldin had talked about, getting into ballot harvesting and the way the Democrats kind of manipulate the system right now to win. I don't like those methods. I don't want those to be the new norm. But if it's going to be a thing in the states that it is currently a thing in, Michigan, Arizona, Georgia, Nevada, Wisconsin, Pennsylvania, and other states, but those are the big battleground states, right, that we always hear about. If they're going to let this happen in those states, then we have to take advantage. And, I equate it all the time to the hockey team. Imagine a hockey team that wants to score 4 goals a game, right? You figure we score 4 goals a game, we're going to win. But they choose not to try and score in the first 2 periods, right? The first period, nope. Second period, nope. Well, the other team that they're playing against is always trying to score. And wouldn't you know it, that hockey team that wants to score those 4 goals only winds up scoring 2 of them, and because they only have 20 minutes to score all their goals. And that's kind of how we do it on election day. We decide the first 2 periods of the election, which I don't love. Early voting, vote by mail. I don't love it. But if it's a thing, we need to use that to put points on the board. We can't just decide not to put points on the board because we don't like the way the points are being put up. If it's legal, we have to take advantage, right? So, we wait until the third period halfway through to start scoring, and we come up short every time. It's because we're not taking advantage of the whole game. We're not trying to win the entire time. We've had this conversation before, but we'll see how it plays out in Georgia.
Yeah, and I mean, for all our viewers out there, I think that this kind of bridges us into, or segues us into, a different conversation, which is the whole RNC chair position and where that's at. Yes. And I think it's important with some of the candidates that are out there and ones that you and I know are going to announce. This is such an important position because, look at how feckless the state parties have been. I know in my state, your state, so much of the corruption you see, whether it's rigged voting machines, which we see with the very corrupt CAGOP that's run by that scumbag, Kevin McCarthy, and Jessica Patterson, a guy named Brian Watkins that you and I talked about. Mm-hmm. We talked about his manhood several times on an IG Live, but this is a family show, so we won't do that again here. But all those people, they're all rhinos. They're all rhinos and scumbags. And sometimes people ask me, well, what classifies a rhino? Anybody that's willing to sell their country out or their state out for political gains or financial gains in the face of what's right and what they know is going to save their kids.
Yeah.
That's my definition right there. I don't know what other people define a rhino as, but that's what I define a rhino as. And there are so many people that really, I mean, if you look at them, they've chosen the path of least resistance because it's the one that gets them on Fox News. It's the one that pays them the most money. It's the one that keeps them in office, whatever the case is. And I mean, what I would say to our viewers out there, assess who you're picking and who you're thinking about. And do you want the same thing you've always gotten? And, in my state party, we did no, canvassing of the rolls. We didn't try to do anything to get people to turn out to vote. There was no, they did their state convention after the election registries, right? The voter guides came out, right, for who they were going to run for. If you got endorsed by the CAGOP, the endorsement convention happened 3 months after the state's voter guides came out. So basically, the endorsement was useless. And they knew that. Well, why wouldn't they want to do differently? Because they like the system as is. They're profiting off the system. And they'll use Republican talking points on their mailers, but then they're taking the money and shifting, or sending $28 million out of the $30 million they got 3 years ago. And they're putting it to candidates that don't live in California. So you've got to start to question this. And I'm saying that because, Rhonda McDaniel really sucks.
Yes.
She's done nothing. But whoever we pick for RNC chair, you really got to assess, are they a rhino or are they not? And if they're a rhino, you can't vote for them. I know, you have some inside information about some people that might be announcing. Do you want to shed any light on this?
Well, I mean, Lee Zeldin had made a statement. I think he had put a comment or a statement out yesterday that he was going to wait until after the Georgia runoff, obviously December 7th. So tomorrow, Pearl Harbor Day. For those of you out there who don't know, there's a lot of people who don't know what December 7th is, which is unfortunate. A day that would live in infamy. It's Pearl Harbor Day, but he's going to be doing that announcement tomorrow, I believe, to say that he's running for RNC chair. Because it would be a lot easier for Lee Zeldin to come out and say he's not running. Saying that you're not running wouldn't really have an impact on the Georgia runoff. However, saying that you are running would create a sort of a distraction and kind of a new shiny over here when all the Republican focus should be on Georgia. And party leadership, I think, fumbled, for lack of a better term, even though we have Herschel Walker running in this race, who is a great running back in his own right. I believe his offensive line, the Republican Party, is failing to block for him here. To use a football reference, it's a bad scheme is what we could say. They're not getting the running back the big enough hole to take it to the end zone, but who knows, maybe he'll do it himself. But I do think Lee Zeldin tomorrow, December 7th, he did say he was going to be making an announcement on whether or not he is running. I doubt this is an announcement that he isn't running. I don't think you call a press conference or you announce to a rather large following, hey, I'm going to announce something on Wednesday, and then come out and say, hey, I'm not doing something. So I think tomorrow we're going to find out that Lee Zeldin is running for RNC chair, and I think he will take the Republican Party in the right direction. He has embraced figures like Scott Pressler. It's no surprise that Harmeet Dillon, who apparently has been a supporter of Pressler's for a while, has come out and basically done the exact same thing that Lee Zeldin is doing. I don't really trust Harmeet. I've heard some stuff about her. I know that, she's a smart lawyer and she's done some good work. I get it. But I don't really trust her as far as I can throw her with the ties to Kevin McCarthy. And
so there's a term called jellyfish.
Yes, there is a term called jellyfish, and you're a chiropractor, so why don't you explain why we call people jellyfish?
Well, the jellyfish, or we call them squishes in California politics, are the people that are very, I often wonder when I hear Kevin McCarthy speak, he almost seems like he has, what do they call him? I don't want to say this because this is a family program, but when a male has a chest that is very non-male-like.
We can call him a soy boy.
Yeah, well, they have a BITCHTITS. I spell everything because I'm a dad. So we watch Blippi and Paw Patrol all the time in my family, and we spell things. But they say that they are female dog breasts on those men. I feel like McCarthy is a soy boy because he has a way that he talks, and it's not because it's soft-spoken, although it is staged. You can tell he's an NLP guy. He tries to remain calm even when he's irritated. And he's a very eloquent speaker, but around all the hard issues, he never takes a stance. And he's got no spine. He's a coward. And if you look back at the history of McCarthy and the California cabal, there's a guy named Charles Munger, if I'm not messing up his last name, that invested anywhere from $50 to $150 million years ago. And this is a known fact in people that are really deep-seated in California politics. And he bought out all the central committees. And then over time, different CAGOP leaders, Harmeet Dillon being a past one, have kind of backed the leadership of what we call here in California, the cabal. And they've rigged it where there are proxy votes that basically determine who will get endorsements and who won't. Now, whether it's true what Harmeet Dillon did support or didn't support, how in bed she is with Kevin McCarthy or isn't in bed with Kevin McCarthy, we don't know for fact yet. But one thing we do know for a fact, and this is a jellyfish moment, a huge one is, you can sit there at home with your champagne and your popcorn. And if I ask you right now, whether as a Trump MAGA constitutional supporter, if you know that there was voter fraud in 2020, like I know everybody's going to raise their hand. They're going to be seething out of the mouth with anger. and Harmeet Dillon and her law firm, and Mousie Moiser, the Rhino trial lawyer that I ran against in U.S. Senate, they publicly came out after they filed an election integrity lawsuit and said there was no voter fraud in 2020. And the simple thing I would say to everybody out there is, you'd almost rather have Rhonda McDaniel than you would somebody that's willing to do that. And to what extent, Rhonda McDaniel did that, I don't know. I'd rather have somebody that is light years away from Kevin McCarthy
Yep.
than somebody that is their best friend. And if Mr. Zeldin, if he announces tomorrow, oh my God, I mean, what an amazing pick that would be. Axios is coming out and saying that a lot of the current, I'm guessing, congressional representatives, and you and I were talking about this offline. One of the things that Shawn and I are trying to determine is, in state politics, at least in my state, and I think it's a little different in every state, you vote for your delegates for that state body, for that state convention. Like if you're a previous politician that's won a state office, you automatically have delegate votes for your convention to determine your chair, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if every state party is that way, but we're kind of hypothesizing that the RNC is, if you're a congressional rep for the U.S. Congress, if you're a U.S. senator, you're going to have a delegate vote. And Axios is reporting right now that Ronna McDaniel, don't ask me why, is getting a majority of of those votes right now. So the question becomes, who's more patriotic? Who do we want to back? And Shawn, you said off air the election for that is when? January?
I believe it's in January. Yeah, the early stages of January. So we will see how that shakes out. Here's an update from Georgia, by the way. Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker. Raphael Warnock currently leading by about 21,000 votes, about 20,000 and change, 0.7 of a percentage point right now over Herschel Walker. So we're following that.
Yeah, I'm worried.
Yeah, no, I don't love the way this is shaking out. The RNC elections are in the last week of January. So we will see how those shake out. To everybody who is watching on Rumble right now, thank you very much for watching. Please hit the Rumble button, take the link, post it all over your social medias. If you're watching on any of our, on any of our other streams, on Getter, on Twitter, on YouTube, just share this everywhere. Be sure to follow Dr. Cordie. He's at Dr. Cordie W. He's tagged in all of our posts on Twitter, on Truth, and on Getter. So go ahead and give him a follow. Usually do this every Wednesday, but I am traveling tomorrow, and it would have been a little hectic, so we will be doing this tonight. I wanted to get your take on one more thing because this was something we spoke about just before coming on. The after-school Satan Club. I'm not sure if you heard about this, but you can see it on your screen right now. After-school Satan Club has been offered to a Virginia primary school. Primary school, obviously, ages 5 to 7. So here you are. The after-school Satan Club is coming to a Virginia primary school. This comes after your reel when you found it with your son, Poopy Satan. We don't like him. This was We Love You, Satan on Disney. So Satan being infused into the entertainment and is starting to make his way into the minds of the children. What say you about this Satan Club? This is the 5th one in the country.
Well, first of all, my little Cordie, my 6-year-old, loves anything dealing with poop, talking about poop.
Well, that's because he got famous on one of your campaign ads, right?
Yes. yes. And so anything with genitalia or poop, he's a big fan of talking about it. And it doesn't matter where he is. But he's a funny little guy. But yeah, so Poopy Satan, you couldn't say anything other than that. And it's sad that our country has.
I don't mean to cut you off, but whenever I put that picture up on other shows and I'm talking about, that's all I think about is Poopy Satan. I don't say it, but it's all I'm thinking about. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, we'll have to get that name out there. We'll have to tell Jeremy about Poopy Satan, so he can start saying it on his show. But no, I mean, it's really sad. It shows how far we've gone away from the moral fabric that this country was founded on. And my brother-in-law that I love / brother, uncle, It's weird. I've known the guy since I was 7, Joey. Joey James tried to argue with me that there was no, fabric of our country that was founded on the Constitution. This is a high-powered attorney, and I'm like, dude, how can you not acknowledge that Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson talked about and wrote about going and praying, reading their Bible, all that, and they don't this other side of like this country right now, which I don't think the percentage is as large as what some folks would say. I mean, I think the side out there that wants a communist agenda, that wants a socialist Marxist agenda, that wants pedophilia and Satanism, in our schools and out in front in our kids, I don't think it's as large as what some folks would say. I really don't.
It's
But
not.
for a long time, there's been a push to get the Pledge of Allegiance out, to kneel to the flag, that's okay. Is that your constitutional right? Yes, it is. But it's our constitutional right to push back and say, you know what? Like, what if we want to pray in schools, right? You don't have to participate, but our founding fathers said that was okay. And whether you look at that football coach that just got reinstated, but 3 years fighting this battle, having to go all the way to the Supreme Court, I think he did, and now he's back in school. How much did that impact his life? Psychologically, mentally, emotionally, physically, medically? It's a really dark time for our country, and it's just because the moral fabric of the country has been eroded.
Yeah, I think it has, and I think now, there were a lot of people who were commenting on, I put the picture up, you put the reel up, and they said, "Calm down, it's just a joke." And I said, you know what? There are things that you can joke about, and then there are things you probably shouldn't. You have the right to do it, absolutely. It's speech, it's free speech. I'm certainly not going to call for Disney to be banned over this, right? However, we can all, we can say that it was inappropriate speech, and inappropriate doesn't mean that it's illegal. I mean that it's inappropriate. I mean that it's something that shouldn't be on a children's show. And for the folks who kept coming out and saying, well, just calm down, it's a joke, and this is why, you right-wingers are labeled conspiracy theorists, or some of us are on our side coming out, this is why the left calls us names, because you're overreacting. There's now an after-school Satan club. So I don't think that we are overreacting to anything, because, look, there's only a certain amount of coincidences that can continue to take place until it's no longer coincidental, until it's just a part of the plan and a part of the script. It's not coincidental when you walk outside in the rain and you get wet. You didn't just happen to get wet in the rain. It's falling water. Water is wet. You're going to get wet in the rain, right? So, when we continue to see the innuendo, the satanic innuendo, coming in and infiltrating areas that children are involved in, whether it's Disney or primary school or sports or fashion, Balenciaga, Kylie Jenner covered in blood in an advertisement. It's not a coincidence anymore. This is what they're trying to do. They're trying to normalize the devil among your children, to promote this godless society. And it is not, it's just, look, I can tell you this, whether you believe it's a joke or not, these jokes and this act is not going to end well. That much I can promise you. So it's time to get Satan out of the schools. It's time to get Satan out of Disney. He doesn't belong there. And if it's going to continue to show up there, then the parents need to remove their children from this situation so that this corruption, this mental corruption, and this moral corruption does not continue.
Yeah, no, 100% agreed. And it's all media propaganda to facilitate money, power, and control. So it's no different. I mean, this agenda, and people have said that maybe at the beginning of COVID, you thought, get out of here. That's tinfoil hat and all that. And I don't get into the Q stuff, and I don't get into the reptilian space aliens. I think all that is BS, to be candid. But what I do agree with is that there's been a global agenda from day one, whether it's the Gates Foundation, the Center of Death and Control, the Food and Death Administration, the pharmaceutical companies, and health insurance companies. There's so many people that profit off of one party being in control. And I also think the Republican Party has skin in the game in regards to election integrity not being resolved, not only in the state but in the country. Because the fact that the Republican Party has been silent, the RNC has been silent, the state Republican parties have been these cowards, Kevin McCarthy-esque or Beta-esque, shows one thing, that this establishment control, the Paul Ryans of the world, have been benefiting off the election process we currently have. And we've got to start to get some really big discernment in who we're electing, whether it's for RNC chair, whether it's for whatever, just even in the primaries, who we're supporting financially and with our time and with our voice. And people really need to smarten up, Shawn, because, I mean, the writing's on the wall that just like we're slipping morally, we're slipping politically. And something can get so far where it can't be turned back. And I don't think we're at that point yet, but we're approaching that point if we don't do something and people don't stand up and grow a backbone and get away from the jellyfish.
Yeah, we're reaching I believe we're reaching a point of no return. I'm not saying that we are there, but we are certainly reaching it. As we go halfway through here, we're at 9:32. Herschel Walker and Raphael Warnock. A quick update here. Warnock leading by about 8,000 votes right now in the Georgia runoff. So
80%, dude.
80% in.
80%. And it, like, just I pray to God that we can get like 3 percentage points up.
Yeah.
And like 100,000 votes, because it's kind of like Nick Saban says all the time, especially when the system is rigged. When you get to the fourth quarter and you're down by a touchdown or two, there were so many decisions you could have made prior to that. I don't blame Herschel Walker. No. I blame the feckless RNC. And if you wondered why Ronna McDaniel shouldn't be the chair and why we don't need another rhino as chair, why we need a patriot, an activist, a grassroots guy, like maybe a Mike Lindell, maybe a Lee Zeldin, any one of those guys, they're light years ahead of a scumbag like Ronna McDaniel.
Yep.
And anybody that's going to do worse or the same as Ronna McDaniel, might as well just keep Ronna McDaniel. I mean, that's my opinion. But I have to sign off, brother.
Yep.
I've got to go to a special meeting of sorts, and you take it from here. I know you'll crush it, and I love and appreciate you guys and appreciate you.
And we'll be back next week on next Wednesday. Cordie. Now we should be good. We should have sound now. Sorry. We are back. Herschel Walker trailing Raphael Warnock by just about 8,000 votes. Sorry for the loss of sound. I switched scenes here in OBS and we lost it. But Herschel Walker just trailing. And I'd like to thank Lin Wood for this disaster. As you know, Lin Wood in 2020 told Georgians not to vote. I won't vote on those damn machines. He was wearing his ridiculous hats. And all of those who continue to cast doubt on the system, look, you don't have to trust the system. You don't have to believe it's free and fair. I certainly don't believe it's totally free and totally fair. But you have to be able to participate. You have to be willing and able and eager to score points in this system. And if you are not going to score those points, and you're going to try not to score those points, you're going to have more results like what we saw in Georgia in 2020 and what we're currently seeing now. There is no reason why, none whatsoever, why we should be seeing Democrats being competitive in Georgia. It is absolutely ridiculous. And as of the latest update, it is about 1,600 votes, about 2,000 votes actually, separating Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker. So, folks, we saw the Twitter files coming out. We saw that. I'm not sure if everybody here is dialed in on Twitter. If you're watching on Rumble, rumble.com/Shawn Farash. It's just my name, ShawnFarash. We have our biggest audience yet for the Unalienable Right watching on Rumble. We thank everybody who is watching, who is sharing. Folks, please, if you're watching on Rumble, take the link, share it everywhere, and hit the Rumble button. It really helps us start to gain traction. We do this once a week. It's hard, as Dr. Cordie's from California. I'm from New York. A lot of things are happening right now, but we do appreciate all of the support that we're seeing on Rumble. Blue Collar Bunch asks in the Rumble chat, do they go to another runoff if both are below 51%? The answer is no. The way Georgia election laws are, if you are below 50.01%, meaning you don't get a majority of the vote, that is the runoff, where they narrow it down to 2 candidates and somebody will finish ahead. So, if you will be watching tonight, since there are only 2 candidates in the race, somebody is going to have to finish with a majority of the vote, and that will be your winner. And this is a 6-year seat. Last in 2020, Raphael Warnock only had a 2-year term to fill out. Now it's a 6-year seat, so this is super, super important. And again, this is why I don't like what Lynn Wood did. This is why I don't like talking too much in a negative way about our elections, because we want to be careful when we do that we're not encouraging people or discouraging people from voting. Second thing from the Republican Party is that we have to embrace all 3 periods of the game. The hockey team. First period, we're not going to try to score. Second period, we're not going to try to score. Third period, we're going to try and score 4 goals and win. Well, the problem is your opponent scored in the first period. Your opponent scored twice in the second period. Now you're down 3-0 in the third period, and you only scored 2 goals. Well, you lose. But maybe if you had tried to score a goal each in the first 2 periods, y'all would have won, 4-3. You see the point that I'm trying to make? We can't just throw all of our eggs in the one basket of Election Day. I would love if elections were just held on Election Day. But the fact of the matter is, and remember what Ben Shapiro, I'm not a big fan of Ben Shapiro, but remember what Ben Shapiro says. Facts don't care about your feelings. Well, I feel, you feel, we all feel, right, that elections should be held on one day with paper ballots, et cetera, et cetera. I agree with all that. But the fact of the matter is that is not how our elections are run right now. If we want to change that, and I am on board with those changes, first, we have to win and put the people in place that can draft those changes. We can't just snap our fingers, bitch and moan, and get upset and see these things change. That's not going to happen. If you want to see mail-in balloting go away, be better than the Democrats at it, they'll ban it immediately. Look at how fast they left Twitter, or they tried to cancel Twitter. Twitter was their best friend in the 2020 and 2022 cycles, until Elon Musk got it and became in charge and exposed all of the corruption. Now they're calling Twitter a threat because Republicans, or free speech, really, has taken hold on Twitter. And once free speech and liberty takes hold, they denounce the thing that it has taken hold of. So if we weaponize their system against them, they will destroy it. Then we will get what we want. Then we can focus on bringing people to the polls. But until that point, in every state that ballot harvesting is legal, we need to bring the polls to the people. In Michigan, in Georgia, in Arizona, in Wisconsin, in Pennsylvania, we need to bring the polls to the people. In the states that always cost us national elections, we need to bring the polls to the people. We need to stop whining. I'm with you. I agree with everybody's thoughts on how elections should be held. But we need to put ourselves in position to make those changes. So I understand, and just understand this, when you comment and when you write this on social media, paper ballots only. Election day only. I agree. But the fact of the matter is that's not how it's done right now. So we have to get better at doing it the way it is done, the way elections are held. Or we can be that hockey team that gives up a goal in the first, 2 goals in the second, with the hopes of scoring 4 goals in the third, only score 2, and come up 1 short every single time. Or we can evolve. And we could say, you know what? We're going to score once in the first, once in the second, twice in the third, and win 4-3. Now, I like that outcome a lot better. I like winning a lot better than losing. I certainly like trying to win a lot more than complaining about losing. So let's all try to win. I don't want to see mail-in ballots. I don't want to see early voting that goes on for 40 days before an election. But the fact of the matter is that's how these elections are held in some states. So we've got to participate in all phases of the process. All right, a quick update on the Georgia Senate runoff as we get closer. The Georgia runoff right now, Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker, as the latest update comes in, and it looks like Herschel Walker has once again taken the lead in the race. Herschel Walker up about 4,100 votes with 80% reporting. Not enough. It's not enough, folks. It's not enough for me to feel comfortable, but we are close. It is close, and so Herschel Walker leading, but we're 1 water main break away from shenanigans, so we will see how that all plays out. All right, folks, I saw a few people asking for this earlier. Obviously, a lot of folks are fans of the Captain Deplorable material. I didn't want to take away from what Cordie was doing, but folks, I was thinking of a new segment. You can hear Brennan laughing in the background. I was thinking of a new segment. Something funny. So recently, Vladimir Putin, reports were that he fell down this... I'm serious with everybody here. Recently, reports were that Vladimir Putin had fallen down a flight of steps, I believe, at his home. And as the reports detailed, self-defecated, a la Biden at the Vatican. Remember what Biden did in front of the Pope? Whoa, it's the Pope. Well, that makes a good time for me to kind of let one go. Call it holy Okay. Now, I didn't want to make a video making fun of Putin because apparently he's got some sort of intestinal cancer. And, look, it's not nice to make fun of cancer patients, okay? And so I kind of took that down. I took that off. I didn't take it down and put it up, but I kind of scratched that. I kind of cut that because there may be somebody in this audience who knows somebody with the same type of cancer, and maybe it doesn't sit well with them. I don't like making fun of people with cancer, right? So that would obviously not be what I was doing with Putin. I'd be making fun of Putin because I don't like him either. But there's this real cool rhyme that works. What do you think of something like this, something funny, making fun of Putin every week? Because, the left likes, you guys are Russians, Russian assets. Well, I'm going to make fun of Vladimir Putin. So a segment, on all the Captain Deplorable channels or something I could do maybe once a week or something, called Tootin' with Putin. And it would be like, welcome to another week of Tootin' with Putin. Never would have happened if I was president, okay? The gas is too damn high. We're tootin' with Putin. Something silly. Vladimir Putin fell down the stairs. He pooped himself. Vladimir was Putin. All right, he was Putin. And I would have said, Vladimir, you're not going to do that. Never would have happened if I was president. What do you think of Tootin' with Putin? I think it's funny. Tootin' with Putin. You think we can get that trending somewhere? Hashtag Tootin' with Putin. I think that would be a fun little segment. What do you guys think? I'm going to go take a look at the chat in just a moment. Tootin' with Putin. I don't know if everyone thinks that's good, if everyone thinks that's not. They think it's funny. Let's see. Tootin' with Putin. I think it would be a real fun thing. You look at it. Welcome to another week of Tootin' with Putin. And then we can kind of do an update on the Ukraine war. No one cares about it, so we'll do something stupid. Another $50 billion went to Ukraine in this edition of Tootin' with Putin. Never would have happened if I was president. Never would. I would have called him up and said, Vladimir, you're not going to do that. Don't even think about it. All right, so Tootin' with Putin looks like we may have a little win. Welcome to Tootin' with Putin. Episode 1. All right, look, I mean, I think I'm going to do it. It'll be short, like a minute or so long. Reel worthy. Tootin' with Putin. Yeah, that's a good idea. I think we're going to do it. I'll figure out some ideas to make fun of that guy because it's fun making fun of him. You know, and then the left will go, you guys are Russian spies. You know, I've been saying this on LFA too because someone said that Elon Musk leaked the Twitter documents. And other people are saying he dropped them in a document dump. And I've been aptly pointing out on LFA TV, rumble.com/LFA TV, we'll be there tomorrow, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., that a leak and a dump are, in fact, two different things. This is true. Vastly different things. But that's kind of gross. All right, one more update on the Georgia Senate runoff, and then I think we're going to just we're going to sign off early tonight. We had a long day tomorrow. I'm going to be traveling. We got 2 shows in the morning, then traveling. And I'll be brainstorming, I guess, on that plane. I'm not going to be sleeping much. Tootin' with Putin. I think this is a great... I think it says, welcome to another episode of Tootin' with Putin with your favorite president, okay? And you see what happened with Vladimir. He fell down the stairs. It looked like he fell down the stairs. And apparently, he pulled a Sleepy Joe. They say he self-defecated. You know what that means? He crapped himself. Never would have happened if I was your president. And now we're all tooting with Putin. It's a horrible thing. Okay, folks. Thanks for watching. Here's one more update. Raphael Warnock back in the lead over Herschel Walker, as you can see. So we're going to end the night on some bad news. 83% in. Raphael Warnock up about half a percentage point at this one. As this goes right now, roughly 18,000 votes or so. Yeah, roughly 18,000 votes. Almost the same margin that he won by in the 2022 midterms that went to a runoff, won by about 37,000. So we will see as the results continue to trickle in. Herschel Walker has made it competitive. I don't know if he's got enough there, but we will see as the votes continue to trickle in, down by about 15,000 votes now or so. So we will see exactly how this goes on. Thank you, folks, for watching. Thank you, folks, for listening. And we will... oh, wow, Travis Nepper with the comment of the day on YouTube. Did you hear about Biden going to the hospital? Why, you ask? Because he can't stop Putin. Oh, this is going to be fun. All right, thank you, folks, for watching. Thank you, folks, for listening. Remember, if you're watching on Rumble, to please take the Rumble link and share this everywhere. Copy the link, post it on your social media, and please hit the Rumble button on your way out. Really appreciate the love and support for the Unalienable Right as we continue to grow this. It's a once-a-week show from 2 folks, one from New York, that's myself, and Cordie Williams. Dr. Cordie is from California, trying to cross coast to coast and bring everybody up to speed on what's going on, give our perspectives, and share on a couple of laughs. Be motivated to make a change. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to tune in to rumble.com/loudmajorityUS for tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern, for We Will Not Comply, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. on rumble.com/LFA-TV for the Loud Majority Show on LFA TV. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you next week. Thank you, guys. Have a great night.